keep saying I'll start on Monday, and Monday never comes. I go on a holiday soon, and I really want a bigger bum and a smaller waist. Can you help?
Look, if you wanna come gym, make sure you put the work in. Some wanna get fit, some wanna get slim, some wanna start competing, but enough of them just can't stop cheating. When their belly is full, they're still eating. Me, I practice what I'm teaching.
What's up, Fit Fam? This is Giovanni of Gio's Logic, your host of Fitness Junkies. I hope this show meets you in good health and spirits, and if not, I hope it inspires you to do something about it. Well, before we get into this next guest, who I actually think I've been stalking since 22, I checked her DMs. Anyway, let's take a little look at this video.
Hi, my name is Kristi Vaccaro, and I am the owner of FitLV Fitness and Nutrition. I'm a wife, mama of 2 boys, and passionate about helping women create the best versions of themselves. Having been in the fitness industry for more than a decade, I know that women need more than the next trendy diet or gimmicky weight loss tool. Women need support. They need accountability, and they need a plan that will meet them where they are and feel sustainable through all seasons of life. From the high-performing businesswoman to the new mama trying to navigate motherhood and her own health, I help women reclaim their space and become the best, most badass versions of themselves.
So that was the introduction of who you are and what you do. And I think I was really excited about you, other than the tats and that you're hot and all that stuff, is your nutrition focus, because I know that's so important. But before we get into that, everyone that sits in that chair has a fitness journey. And the little talk that we've had offline, you've had a long journey to where you are now. So take us all the way back. How did you get here?
Ciao, fitness junkies. This is Erica Loren, your optimal aging expert from Paracel Aesthetics, Dermatology, and Wellness. Did you know that change in midlife can affect not only women, but men? So I have a lot of clients come into my clinic who are husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, something like that. And they're both experiencing major changes in the way they feel, their body composition, the way they're thinking. They're not sleeping as much, and they don't want to do the horizontal tango with each other. So it's a big problem in relationships, and I take care of both people for bioidentical hormone therapy. We'll get blood levels, and we'll measure the sex hormones like testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone, along with like thyroid and everything else to see how healthy the body is. And then we'll see where do your hormones lie. As men get older, especially starting around age 30, they'll lose about 1% of testosterone a year. Females, as they get older, starting around age 35 to 40, will be going into perimenopause. So their levels of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone start to go down, but then they also start to do this like fluctuation thing. So when you feel like your girl is a little cray-cray for the day, it's probably her hormones. Feels like you're going through PMS like basically every day. Like you never know where you're going to be. So give her some grace. As women hit around 51, which is the average age for menopause, they will stop having periods. And that hormone level will not just do this, it'll just bottom out. And you'll have so many symptoms like the weight gain, you'll have moodiness, not be able to sleep. We'll get a lot of belly fat for men and women, and that's where estrogen is stored. In men, gaining that belly fat will actually cause more estrogen production. It's stored in the belly. And they'll also get something called aromatization at times, where the testosterone that they do have may be changed into estrogen. So battling that requires replacement of hormones. For men, we do testosterone, sometimes injections or creams to help you get your levels back up, and guys will come back in and they feel great. It gives you a lot of energy, helps you build muscle, helps with your cognitive functioning. Guys just feel like they're back to their 30s again. For women, it's definitely more of a balancing act of getting the perfect symphony of that progesterone and estrogen and testosterone in the body. So it's a little more kind of playing with what uniquely works for each individual. And that's what I'm able to do at Parasol Aesthetics. I do bioidentical hormone therapy, which is different than most offices and synthetic hormones. The hormones that I use for patients and medications are made from natural sources like yam root. So they integrate into the body better, and they also are eliminated better than synthetics. And in studies, they were not ones that were associated with a lot of those side effects you hear from like back in 2000. Bioidenticals are much different, and you'll feel better. It's better for your body. You'll eliminate them. Once you're, stop them, they're gone in a week. So come to my office so we can get you feeling better, looking better, and back to like age 30 again, and having a better relationship with your significant other. So guys, girls, come see me at Parasol Aesthetics, Dermatology, and Wellness. Back to you, Gio.
What the outcome will be. And even at a young age, that inspired me. So I started, doing what a lot of, maybe not now kids, but doing what a lot of kids back in the day did, riding my bike every day, running every day, playing around with weights and things. And
At how old?
8, 9, 10.
Wow.
I mean, I was just a really active kid.
Okay.
Every day doing something. My brothers were 5 and 6 years older than me, so they were too cool to hang with me. So I was like, well, I'll just go for a run. I'll just go ride my bike. So I was very active. I was a dancer, little gymnastics. And then when I went to college, I majored in dance, which that was my first taste of like typecasting and how your body type will either get you a job or get you a part. And so I really kind of became obsessed with being in control of my body and how it looked. I wasn't yet where I'm at now, where I'm focused on the health aspect. It was very much like, what do I need to do to be this size for this role? Or just changing my body and realizing what I put in or what I didn't put in would control that outcome. Right. And so I always had control over that. And it was unhealthy for a while. I did battle some eating disorders. I was a dance major, like
Right.
all the stereotypical eating disorders with dancers, like it's a real thing. And then paired with some of the obsessive dieting things that I picked up from my dad, so there was a lot of unhealthy habits picked up and in college. And then there was a point where I was like, I don't want to do dance as my forever. And so I started dating a guy who was a personal trainer. He was 11 years older than me at the time. Ended up being a really unhealthy relationship. But what I learned from him, right? You either you win or you learn. And so there's a lot of lessons in my life when I look back. But I learned about personal training. He gave me kind of my first taste of that, and I fell in love with functional fitness. And when I was going to college to teach dance, I realized that I could still teach movement, but it was going to be in the form of fitness. So I fell in love with teaching people how to be strong, how to feel empowered through personal training. Ended up opening up my first gym at 21. Wow. We broke up, and then I moved out to Vegas. And in the middle of all that, I fell in love with powerlifting and with CrossFit and with all these other different, types of fitness. And, here I am now, a mom of 2. I'm in love with jiu-jitsu and still weightlifting. And I've found really healthy ways to teach people that, like, we don't have to be really obsessive with food. We can have this really great relationship with food if we understand macros and balanced eating and stay disciplined.
And your niche seems to be women with children or moms, or is that the bulk of it?
Yeah.
That you do others?
Yeah, that's what I am kind of trying to get it to be. Okay. When I was personal training, I worked with a lot of men. What I found was there's a lot of guys that want to learn how to lift weights, but they don't necessarily want like a bigger, stronger guy teaching them how to lift weights.
Right.
But an attractive female that knows how to lift weights well, that can teach them without this like intimidation factor.
Right.
So I had a ton of male clients when I personal trained, and that kind of bled into like my social media following. And so I'm really putting out a lot of mom-based content because there's a lot of moms that don't think they can do it all. They don't think that they can, handle the house stuff and the kids stuff and the dinner stuff and still be fit? And I'm like, yeah, you can. And you can be an entrepreneur at the same time.
Right. Yeah, because you're doing it.
Right. So it's easy for me to be like, this is how you do it, because I do it every day.
Right. So there's a lot there. Talk to me first about your issues with food and how you relate to other women in your bulk of your clients, and just all the dogma behind eating and cardio, and just specifically women, how they're getting smarter and they're getting more knowledgeable, but there's this dogma in their head, like starving and cardio, and you're not about that.
Yeah. Well, there's been so many diets and trendy diets and yo-yo diets and these like dangling carrots of just cut out all carbs, just eat 900 calories, just take this injection, and these things, like, they are predatory in the sense that women get so low and feel so desperate for change or for weight loss that they take that low-hanging fruit. Because for me to go, trust me, all foods can fit in a healthy diet and you can be really consistent, but it's going to take a lot longer of a time. But once you get there, you just have food freedom for life and you can just live in this really balanced place. Versus when I jumped into the fitness thing, I was eating very much of your traditional bodybuilder diet, the tilapia, the chicken, the rice. I did keto for a while. I did like 900 to 1,200 calories for a while. I thought I wanted to do a figure competition. Like, I went down that rabbit hole, and no shade to anyone. It takes so much discipline, but I am working with the average person. And a lot of times the average person thinks that, because these people are doing this to get ready for a show, that's how you get there. And most of the competitors I've talked to, after they're done competing, they're like, I was not healthy, what I was doing, to get to that place. Right. And so for me to have gone through some of that dieting, and then in college, my roommate, one of my roommates was a binging. She would binge and then she would purge. So she was bulimic. And I was like, oh, that's something I could try. Like, I just watched my roommate do it all the time, and she was so skinny. And so I never had a weight issue, but I also wanted to be as skinny as the skinniest dancers. Right. So I went through a wave of that, and so learning all of these things and being able to kind of spot this disordered eating behavior and kind of nip it where I can is really important to me, because I have had so many women come to me and they're like, I'm afraid to eat carbs. I'm like, well, do you want to eat carbs? Do you like carbs? Right. And they're like, I love carbs. I'm like, perfect. Let's find out how to make carbs fit for you. Right. Because I also love carbs, and I don't think we have to remove them.
Right. And then with that being skinny and body dysmorphia, you have the spectrum. You have these normal women with all different types of body types, but then you probably experienced it in college with body dysmorphia and not really ever being happy or thinking that you look a certain way, but you look amazing. Yeah. What do you experience with that?
Well, I vividly remember one time I was in this, they call it a piece, like the dance performance. It was a piece, and we had to stand on these boxes, and we had these long dresses that covered our bodies and the boxes. And I actually had worked out. I did a weights workout, which I was a cardio queen when I was a dancer, because we weren't supposed to put on any muscle. Right. Which is funny now that I'm trying to get like as big as possible. But I was standing on this box, and my instructor at the time was like, you're getting too big. Like, you're getting too bulky. You got to stop lifting weights. And it was just like, she doesn't want me to be strong. And I didn't have any tattoos at the time. Like, I couldn't have tattoos either. And it was in that moment where I'm like, they're going to control everything about me and how I look. That's not the vibe. And so there was that instance where I wanted to rebel. I ended up dropping out, and then I was like, I'm going to get into bodybuilding. And then I was like, nope, I'm going to go powerlifting. I'm going to be as big and as strong as I can, and even now, after having gone through 2 pregnancies, 2 postpartum hoods, I've lost, and then add in jujitsu. I do so much jujitsu every week. I've lost a lot of muscle mass, and now I'm having like reverse body dysmorphia where I feel like a skinny bitch. I'm like, I've lost so much muscle.
Right.
I'm so skinny. But it's a reminder that like, I don't know if we ever reach this place where we're just happy with our bodies. Like we're always like searching for more.
Right. I would tend to agree with that. At least that I experienced that as well. Dealing with women as far as clients, I have clients as well, and the roller coaster of their hormones. Men don't realize how hard it is, and the whole monthly cycle. How do you coach women through that journey and the bloating and all that stuff?
I think being really aware of your cycle is key. So I always encourage my women to track their cycles, to know where they're at so they're not surprised if there's an uptick in bloat or an uptick in weight, and understanding that your energy and that your strength may not be on par the week before your period. But that doesn't mean we need to there's some books and coaches that are like, you need to completely change the way that you train based on the week of your cycle. You're never going to PR anything, because it's like every other week we're like, now we're doing a week of yoga, and now we're doing a week of napping. It's like, when are you ever going to have any gains?
Right.
So I take the side of, let's just shift our expectations.
Right.
I'm still going to go train jujitsu every single day throughout my cycle, but I know I'm going to be pretty upset when a 200-pound guy is smashing me in side control days away from my period. Like, I don't have the gusto to like shove him off.
Right.
Whereas the days after my period, I'm like an animal,
Right.
And so it's just being really aware of where you're at in your cycle, that education, and then managing your expectations. But certainly I don't think there needs to be this like huge overdramatic shift in your programming.
Right. Self-awareness on a lot of levels is so key in anything you're trying to do. So talk a little bit about your main philosophies. You talk about nothing's off limit. There's a lot of talk lately on the social media sphere of food timing, meaning you can eat your carbs but have your protein and your fiber first. What's your philosophy on that, and how do you fit carbs into people's diets?
Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of nuances with nutrition, obviously. And for the majority of people, we need to master the basics first before we get into nutrient timing, before we get into all of these other things. Do you even know how many calories you're eating in a day? Like,
Right.
Have you ever even tracked your food? Like,
Right.
I've had so many consults with clients, and they're like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this nitrogen water? And I'm like, you don't even know what you eat in a day. Like, we're talking about a lot of like really like fancy stuff right now, when basics, can we figure out how to get at least 100 grams of protein in during the day?
Right.
Because it's like a distraction, all of these other things. So yeah, once I've gotten through all of the basics, food awareness, food tracking, hitting protein, hitting fiber, hitting your carbs, hitting your fats consistently, and we're seeing a return on that investment, then we can start dialing in things. And that's not to say, like when I said earlier, you can, all foods fit. Everyone is different, and that's why it's really important to have a coach. Because if I have a client that in the beginning, like I said, I start with the basics. We're going to start with your macro goals, which equal your calorie goals. We're going to start there. But if I'm not seeing the results I think we should be seeing, I'm going to make sure that you're tracking accurately, and you're not like just, oh, it's a fourth a cup, cool, but it's like 2 servings in that fourth a cup, right? I want to make sure that you're actually tracking accurately raw versus cooked foods and all this stuff. Then we're going to look into food choice, because if I notice at the day after you eat Dave's Killer Bread every single time, your body is up 2 pounds in weight, we clearly have something going on with gluten. Like your body isn't responding well to processed carbs. Okay, cool. We're going to cut out processed carbs for a week. I'm going to save you the $400 on the food sensitivity test. We're going to cut out gluten for a week and see what happens, right? And we can do that week by week. As long as the client is communicating and providing me with accurate data, we can figure so much out. And then we can dive into all that.
Right, right. Do you believe in that? Like when you get to that level of like handling the basics, as far as food timing and like, carbs after a workout and all the little tricks that we do at advanced stages?
It depends. For the average person, no, I don't think so. For some of my clients that have really specific performance goals, I don't work with any bodybuilders or, stage competitors. I do have competitive athletes though, as far as jiu-jitsu athletes. So we talk about timing with carbohydrates around training sessions, and, keeping fats a little bit lower, high protein, high quick digesting carbs right after the workout, things like that. But for the average person, Cindy and Bob that work a 9 to 5 and aren't have any crazy performance goals or, stage goals, no, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay. So talk a little bit about, at this stage in your career, and the journey you've had, how important is fitness, whether it's weights or exercise? How important is that in your life, and what does that translate to in your life?
It is one of the most important parts of my day, from a mental standpoint to a physical standpoint to I'm doing this to hopefully extend my life for my kids. My sons are 5 and 7, and I was talking to my husband. I'm like, I don't know if the 7-year-old has an increase of testosterone, but this little dude is like an animal. He has so much energy. He's just go, 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 go. And I'm constantly throughout the day, I'm like, do you have a lot of energy in your body, buddy? Because he's just like Rambo, all over the place. And so I got to keep up with him, but I want him to see, they can come out to the gym. My 5-year-old son, I put together this 20-minute AMRAP the other day, and it was 10 standing shoulder presses, 10 split squats each side, 20 sit-ups, push-ups, ring rows, and then he wanted to run on our assault runner. I'm like, sure, buddy, write it. He's learning how to write, and spell. So he wrote 10 runs. Okay. So he did 6 rounds in 20 minutes. He just kept going. The 5-year-old. Yes. Wow. He just kept going and going and going, and was so proud of himself. He a couple weeks ago, he was using the 2.5s on shoulder press. He was using the 5s, no spot. He was so proud of himself. And I'm not forcing this.
Right.
They see us doing it.
Right.
And they will straight up be like, hey, did you work out yet today? Because if I say no, they're going to ask to join me.
Right.
So that's super cool.
Right.
But also I like to look good and I like to feel good, and I like to kick people's asses in my sports and things that I do. I'm competitive,
Right. Talk a little bit more about that. How when you're dealing with other people and their lifestyle choices, and they have young kids, and obviously what you just said is your kids are watching you, and they're learning from you. Talk a little bit about more of that and what you hope they get out of it. Because you did it as a kid as well.
Yeah. Well, when I think about when so many parents, men and women, they're like, just not motivated. And I'm like, you have kids? I spoke to 120 truck drivers about a month ago, and I think all but 3 of the 120 had kids.
Wow.
And all of them had a goal, I think, except for one guy who's like, I have no goals. I'm like, okay. But the rest of them, they all had a goal of losing weight or this or that, but they're just not motivated. And I'm like, do you look at your kids in the eyes and go, sorry, I'm just not motivated to be my best for you? No, I am so motivated to do the thing, because I know that my kids are watching. They see my discipline. They see me up reading every day. They see me doing my workout. They see us meal prepping. They see us eat, and I can say, hey, when they go, do we have jujitsu tonight after school? And I'm like, yeah, we do. The 5-year-old goes, why do we always have jujitsu every night? I don't want to go. And I can say, hey, buddy, sometimes I don't want to go do the thing either, but I'm still doing it. Here's why. Bang, 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 bang. But if I was just a screen sucking, get home, turn on Real Housewives of whatever, and kick my feet up with a glass of wine, like, what am I teaching my kids?
Yeah.
Like, it sounds judgmental, but seriously, like, what are you showing your kids?
Yeah.
That I put up a reel, and I think it had over 1 million views. And it was, if you know your kids are always watching, what are you showing them? It's
That's
that simple.
A great one.
You drinking every night? Are you smoking every night? Are you watching TV every night? Like, we wonder why our kids are having all these issues, ADHD and communication problems. My kids don't have an iPad. Like,
Wow.
I'm probably one of the only 30-year-old parents that doesn't. My kids don't have an iPad. They don't have video games. Like, I don't believe in it.
Right. And probably the haters are like, well, you shouldn't deprive them. All their other friends have. Shut up.
It's a problem to me when I go out to a restaurant and I look around and I see both spouses on their phones and kids on iPads. I'm like, why'd you even go out to eat?
Right.
Like, just straight up because you didn't want to cook, or because, like, I don't know. It's crazy to me.
And no engagement, no
0.
conversation. Wow. So speaking of reels, let's show the reel where she's doing the sauna thing.
Come along for my at-home contrast therapy routine. Starting off in the sauna, Kilo always tries to sneak into
A little loud.
the sauna. Gotta kick that guy out. All right, here's the sauna. Redwood sauna, just got it. It's about 190 degrees when I get in, and I normally stick it out for 15 minutes. Went for 16 on accident today. And then the lovely cold plunge. We're using the pool for now, and it's about 55 degrees. We have a thermometer, but I'm not confident it's working. It's super cold. That's how I know it's effective. And under we go. Well, not totally under, because I just washed my hair. Hello. Staying in for 2.5 minutes until my body starts shivering. Then I let myself shiver and try to naturally warm up for a minute or two outside. And then I will get back into the sauna for round 2. Oh, it feels so good getting back in. See my little goosebumps. So we're gonna stay in for another 15 minutes. Always add 2 ladles of water to kind of steam up the sauna for the second round. And then you can end on cold, or if you want to be relaxed, you can end on hot. Just kind of whatever you have going on for the rest of the day. And we're done.
Your pit bull is cute.
We just adopted him.
It's a him?
Yeah, it's our Kilo boy.
His name's Kilo?
Yeah.
That's a good name. So I showed that because I wanted to talk about other things, other modalities. You use weights, nutrition, jiu-jitsu. Now you're doing heat work, cold work. Talk to me about all the little things that you do to be healthy.
Yeah. So the contrast therapy, I actually started here in Vegas. We have a place called IMR. They do like the float tanks, and they have a fire and ice session. So I bought one fire and ice session. I think it was like $120 or something for the session. So I did it, and I fell in love to the point where I was like, I need a 10-pack. And so I spent the money on the 10-pack of sessions. I think I got through 4 of the 10 sessions, and then I bought my own sauna. I was like, I'm obsessed. And I actually was gifted, we now have a cold plunge. It's a Thrive X. I was gifted this system. And
From Thrive X?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So they sent me the cold system, which, I mean, now I'm so grateful for, because my pool's already, over 60 degrees, so it's not really getting the job done anymore. But I listened to the whole Huberman podcast on the heat therapy and the cold therapy, and I'm like, I want to see what it does for me. And honestly, aside from like the recovery standpoint of it, because it truly does help, like the heat and the cold, holy crap, like inflammation in my body, any aches, pains, tweaks, like helps tremendously. But for me, it's a mental thing. Like, I like any stress or anxiety or whatever, once I'm done with my contrast therapy, you get like this natural high when you get out of the cold, and you're like, you almost feel like you're floating,
Right.
and you feel so alert and so awake. And I'm chill, I'm calm. Like, my kids could be, beating each other up in the grass, and I'm like, as long as they're not like right here. Sometimes we get in the cold and they're like, mom, 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 and they're tired. I'm like, can mommy have some personal space right now in my zen place? But yeah, I love it.
Okay. So not everyone can have a cold plunge and a sauna.
Sure.
Do you teach other methods like cold showers and hot baths and things like that? I heard that there's some studies now that too much sauna can be detrimental to your brain because you're essentially cooking your brain. It's like, oh my God, can we have anything?
Can we have any nice things? Yeah. So for my clients that are really interested in it, that don't have a pool, in a cold time of the year or whatever, I have them start with their bathtub. So I recently posted a reel about my mom has a lot of chronic pain disorders, and I convinced her to get in the pool with me, and it helped her so much. Like, she can't get up our stairs without like limping and holding onto the rail. I haven't seen her walk up our stairs without the railing in years, and she walked right up the stairs, and I was like, holy crap. Like,
Nice.
It was so cool. So she got back home to Illinois, started using her bathtub, and they make these handy dandy ice molds. They're like 3-pound molds on Amazon that you can make your own ice blocks and cool down your bathtub versus going to buy like big bags of ice every day.
Right.
So that, and then obviously you can make a hot bath or a hot shower or whatever,
Right.
but there's definitely ways that you can do it at home. I think it just depends on like what your purpose of it's for.
Right. So back to nutrition, and well, let's not go back to nutrition. We talked about your heat cold treatments. We talked a little bit about nutrition. What other things are important to you? I know for me, sleep is one of them. Obviously, community or family is important to you. There's value in that. They say that it's very important. What are the other pillars of your program?
Yeah. So I wrote a newsletter today, and I actually filmed my own little podcast this morning about routine and sleep and having a schedule. So one of the biggest objections that I hear my women as to why they're not succeeding or, making time for their workout or whatever is because they don't have the time. And so I do a lot of like schedule audits. And so when they're telling me all these excuses and things that, I got this and that and going on, and I just don't have the time, like, are you time blocking? And they're like, what? I'm like, are you time blocking? No, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Okay, are you time blocking? What are you getting done during the day? Or no, I'm working or this and that. So my business coach told me things that get scheduled get done. And so one of the things I was missing was this piece of organization. And I was like, well, I'm working at home. When I was a personal trainer, it was very structured in that I knew I had this person at 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m. So, everything was scheduled out in that way. But when I retired from in-person coaching, I was like, okay, now I'm just at home in my computer.
Right.
And so I'm like, I guess I could do a load of laundry, or I could sweep the floor and do a little computer, and it was all over the place.
Right.
And a lot of people are working from home now. And so I encourage everyone to do a deep dive into their schedule and time block their entire day. So my time blocking day starts at 4:30 a.m. when I get up, and it straight up says coffee, gratitude, reading. I'm not going to forget to drink my coffee in the morning, but it's important. I want to time block it.
Right.
So time blocked.
That's
from
great.
the time I wake up until the time I go to bed at 8:30 p.m. Everything is time blocked, and I'm disciplined in my wake and my bedtime Monday through Sunday with like a 30-minute, there's like a 30-minute wiggle room sometimes if I don't watch much TV, but if I do and I'm up a little bit later, if we do something with the kids that keeps us up later on the weekends, maybe I'll push it till 5, but I'm very disciplined in my schedule, and I believe that's why I'm able to get so much. Like, I squeeze the lemon every day and get so much done.
Right. Wow. That's impressive. Now, a lot of people will give pushback. Oh, I don't want to have that much planning. You know, always people are like, it's so much. You're so strict. I'm like, I always tell them, how's your schedule working out for you now? Oh, yeah. So, what does that discipline, that schedule, do for you in return?
Well, you already know. It gives me all the freedom in the world.
Exactly.
Like I know that's where that was going. And I have two brothers, two older brothers. One of them told me, he's like, you run your house like a drill sergeant. Like you have no room for spontaneity. I'm like, no, the discipline allows for spontaneity because I get all of this stuff done. Yeah. Like I always have a fridge full of meal preps. I never have to think, what am I going to eat? Like that's the least important part of my day, what I'm eating.
Right.
Like I care about the connections, the community, what the time I'm spending with my kids, me getting my fitness in, me getting like I'm an entrepreneur. I'm working all the time, but I still make time for 2-a-days. Like I'm working out twice a day most days when I do my jiu-jitsu in the morning, my weights in the afternoon. If I want to go ride bikes with my kids after school, like being so structured and disciplined allows me to do whatever I want essentially.
Right, right. It's one of the hardest things to teach people because it's like this programming, you know, discipline equals, you know, sacrifice or hardship. And it's just the opposite. Yeah. Just learn it, do it. You know, it's so tough. I was talking to, I had a guest on before you, and, you know, his thing was, you know, eat clean, eat real food, be consistent. It's really that simple, but why is it so hard? How do you feel with, what are some of the struggles with your clients?
I think the consistency piece or not seeing immediate results, like trusting the process. So many people get like the grass is greener syndrome where like they start doing something and I don't know what they expect. Maybe I should ask this question. Like, what is your expectation after a few days of doing the thing? Because you've literally had shitty habits for the last 20 years.
Right.
And you expect just because you started a program that like your body's going to be like, thanks, bitch. We're here. Like,
we're
no.
done.
Like, I'll never forget this one day. I had an online client come in person because she lives in Vegas. And she was sitting down on my bench and she looks at me and she was like, you know what I just realized? The habits that I'm doing now that are going to get me to where I want to be, I'm going to have to do that for the rest of my life. I was like, yeah, you are. Like, it's not any easier. You know, I'm 14 years in on this, and it's not any easier. It's harder now because now I have kids and I have all these other responsibilities.
Right.
But I'm never going to stop doing the thing because back to the freedom thing, like, hard things in life are always going to happen. Hard things are harder when you're unhealthy.
Truth.
Like, you're going to have people that you love die. You're going to have car accidents. You're going to have job loss, whether it's yourself or someone that you love. Like, hard shit's going to happen either way. It's way harder if you're unhealthy and unfit and unprepared. I saw a woman, I was at the pet store yesterday with my kids. I needed to go into Ulta and they saw Petco or PetSmart or whatever. And they're like, can we go in there and look at the fish? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we walked in there and there was a woman in there and she was so overweight with her young kids running around. And my first thought was, if there was a fire or an emergency or a shooter, anything,
right,
she is not equipped to pick up both of her kids and run them to shelter.
Right.
You know, and it's something that like we have to think about. And it's
especially today. Yeah.
Like you never know what's going to happen. So I'm fortunate that I grew up in a household where I learned about firearms early on and I'm savvy with guns and things, but I always wanted to make sure that my body was savvy and prepared too, which is why part of the reason I stay fit. Why I started a martial art. Like, we have a responsibility to protect ourselves and protect others, whether or not we're a parent. I look around at the humans around me. I care about other people. And if anything were to happen, I want to know that I can do my duty and try and protect and save other people. Yeah. And I went off on a tangent, but...
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's pretty bleak as far as when you walk around the world and our world and see how bad people have let themselves go, and how hard it is. And then you go on the other side of that with this latest diet craze with the Ozempic and all those things and the magic pills. What are your thoughts on that? And do you ever go down that highway with any of your clients that are super strugglers?
So, my thoughts and feelings on that is we don't know
Yet.
the long-term effects of this. And that's how I feel about, this is another very controversial topic. My kids are not vaccinated. We are pretty hippie with stuff like that. And with this injection that people are taking to lose this weight, I do think that there are certain cases that it could be helpful for. But I personally know a lot of people that, in my opinion, should not be taking it. They're sheerly taking it for weight loss because nothing else worked.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a lot of complications and there's already lawsuits coming out. I was reading an article the other day. I think there was a couple dozen lawsuits for the digestive issues and intestinal issues and stomach problems. And I'm like, oh my gosh, fast forward 5 years, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So no, it's not something that I personally ever recommend. I have had clients that have opened up to me and said, hey, I was doing this. Or I've had clients that are like, hey, I've been meaning to tell you. And then I'm
gonna do this.
Or I'm currently doing it. I'm like,
Right.
Thank you for your honesty. Let's talk through this.
Right.
And it's not my place to say you can or cannot do that. It's my place to give the information that I have and say, let's talk about this long-term plan.
Yeah.
Are you going to do this forever? What's your game plan, and what habits, are you working on
Right.
while you're taking this?
Right. It's so crazy. Let's look at that last video because I want to talk to you about clients and their successes.
One
and
of the
failures.
most exciting parts about being a coach is seeing people fulfill every goal that they have ever set. Unlocking other people's potential and seeing them smash freaking goals and become a version of themselves that they never thought possible is so badass. And on the same note, one of the most frustrating things about being a coach is when I see people not living up to their potential, getting great results and then self-sabotaging or not believing in themselves or just not doing the damn thing. Yo, if you hire me, I'm gonna give you to do, workouts to do, food to log, check-ins to do. And when you don't do the thing and you don't get the results, it's so frustrating because I know you're capable of it. I'm not any more capable than you. All these other people that you look up to or that you see their physiques or what they have, they're not any more capable. They've just made different choices and stayed consistent at those choices. So just remember, you have everything you need inside to get from point A to point B. You just have to keep showing up and stay consistent.
Stay consistent. There's that word again.
Jeez.
I've been training clients for probably close to 25 years, and I always tell people that a lot of what I do is there's a lot of failure in what I do. When people are with me, they usually succeed and they hit their goals and they get there.
Yeah.
And then when they move away from me, they slip back into bad habits. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of failure in all the energy you put into these people that you really want to help. And you can, you just like with your passion there is like, I want to help you. I'm going to give you the secrets. Here they are. Just do them. And we have to deal with that failure so often. I believe that what I do as far as training people, I benefit more than any of my clients because it solidifies that belief in what I'm doing, and I live it and I breathe it. But how do you deal with that and clients, not succeeding, that's so tough.
It is really tough. I use this parking lot analogy with my clients a lot. Like I let them know I look at my brain like a parking garage, and when a new client comes in, like they get a spot in my parking garage, my mental parking garage. And as long as they're with me, they keep their parking spot, and it's even when they leave and they like drive out, I'm good with like visuals. When they drive out of the parking garage, they pay their ticket and they're done. It's tough for me to not like leave their name on that parking spot because I care so much about my clients, and it's always been slightly a problem for me because I get emotionally invested, and I try not to get as emotionally invested because you can't control if they're going to do the thing, right? And like I always start out with 100% self-belief, and I still I believe 100%, like all of my clients are capable, exactly what I just said. Like everyone is capable of whatever it is. I know not everyone has the same goals, but whatever that goal is, everyone is just as capable. But what's missing for a lot of people is that self-belief. And it could be things from their childhood or just repeated patterns of people telling them that they're unworthy or telling them that they're not good enough or whatever it is, they've begun to believe it. And you have to unwind and unbraid all of those, negative self-thoughts and begin pouring into yourself. And I used to have a fear of public speaking. My college professor told I got a C in communication because she said, I was always talking too much at the wrong times, and I wasn't in this and it wasn't that. And so I thought that I was a shitty public speaker, and I'm speaking in front of 100, 200 people at a time, and I'm on podcasts, and I'm super confident. I had to rebuild that from the ground up.
Right.
And everyone is capable of rebuilding themselves from the ground up. And it just takes consistency and just repeated affirmations into what it is that you want to accomplish.
Right. Yeah. And how do you personally feel about that energy you put out? And like I said, I feel a benefit, like helping people is fulfilling and reaffirming as well.
Yeah. I have to remind myself that even if not everyone's doing the thing and not everyone gets results and some people are going to quit, if I can make a positive impact, it's way more than one, but even just one. Like when I write my weekly newsletters, I'm not always motivated to write the newsletter. But if I get one person that wrote me back and said, I needed that today, I was like, boom, it was worth it. If only 12 people listen to my podcast, but one person messages me back and was like, that changed my weekend. That changed the trajectory of my week. Boom, it was worth it. And so, those things affirm me. I think also the people that I surround myself with, and this is important for anyone on any sort of journey that's looking for a lifestyle change, is look at your people. And the 5 people or the 7 people or whatever you want to say, however many people you spend the most time with, like those people better be affirming you and lift you up and build you up. Because if you're surrounding yourself with pessimistic patties and they're all, screen sucking and not doing the thing and drinking every night and the opposite of what you want, you're going to have to change your people.
Yeah, 100%. I use the kind of, your mindset should be like a frame, literally a picture frame. And if someone's in your frame that isn't part of your mindset, then they need to be moved out. But that person could be your significant other.
Yeah, could be.
Could be your mom. Could be your dad. It's you've really got to take a hard look at your people, and sometimes it's time to do some pruning.
Yeah. If it is a family member or someone that you can't kick off the bus, you can set boundaries.
Yeah.
Like there's certain people in my family where I just don't have certain conversations with because
Right.
I know that they don't think as big as I do, or they don't get it and they're not on the same path, and I'm not going to spend the energy trying to convince them.
Right.
And that's another thing. We have to be really aware of where people are in their own journeys.
Right.
And it doesn't make them a bad person.
No.
It just means that there's some things that one of my other business coaches, he talked about how he won't ever talk like finances, like big finance stuff with his father because they're just so far apart on that. But he'll talk to him about the weather and,
Right.
his new lawnmower. Like just you just know what you're going to talk to your
Right.
people about.
Right. It's funny how the psychology of navigating relationships. It's tough, but it goes back to being self-aware and just you got to be true to what you really want. And I talk about the lifestyle changes that we're preaching shouldn't be hardships. They're really not. They're going to give you more freedom. They're going to give you more flexibility. They're going to give you the ability to indulge in time and again. So it's just really important to kind of change the mindset. And like you said, people will get it when they're ready to get it and receive that message. And then, oh, my God, I got it. Or they won't.
Yeah.
And that's just their journey.
Yeah.
So I know you have I think it's a challenge. I saw you trying to do that video recently. It was so funny. I was going to use that one on the show, but I decided not to. But what's going on with your challenge? I think it's in May.
Yeah.
And how do people get involved?
Yeah. So while, the majority of our coaching is focused on like long-term change, like we're very much like we are providing you with a realistic and sustainable program for life. So our coaching programs are 6-month programs. I have clients that have been with me for a decade. Like they worked out at my gym in Illinois.
Wow.
Then they transitioned to online. They've just continuously stuck with me in one form or fashion. And so I'm very much a lifestyle coach. However, not everyone's ready to jump all in with a 6-month commitment and they want to get their feet wet. So we do run a couple challenges per year. So our spring into summer challenge, everyone's like, I posted on my Facebook last night, I'm like, what goal are you going to accomplish by summer? And there was at least 5 women that were like, I'm going to be confident in a bikini this summer. I'm going to wear the shorts this summer. And while I think everyone, like, you should not wait until you're a certain size to wear freaking shorts.
Right.
Like, just wear the damn shorts and then work on your body to
Right.
feel the best in the shorts.
Right.
But if we just take that, like you want to feel your best in a bikini this summer, okay, spring into summer challenge is an 8-week challenge where you can get your feet wet with macro tracking, with workouts. If you're at home, if you're in a gym, you're going to get a taste of what it's like to have an accountability coach, myself, my husband, or our assistant coach. So it's a little micro version of our coaching program. Plus, we do a ton of really fun giveaways. So every week we're doing like community challenges to just keep everyone accountable. We give away stuff from supplements to meal prep Tupperwares to gym equipment. And then we do a big $1,000 giveaway to the biggest transformation, which is not pounds lost. So I think a lot of times there'll be like weight loss, like the person that loses the most weight, but we do just total transformation, everything from like your mindset shift, your habit transformation, and then, your body transformation as well. But it's a really, really great way to see what we're all about.
And how do you measure like the mindset part?
Yeah. So through the coaches, from where a person starts with how they're talking about themselves, how they're showing up, their commitment to all of the extra challenges, the journaling, the reading. So we put like little journaling prompts in every single week. So we can measure that just based on how they're showing up for themselves and then the rest of the community.
Okay. Interesting. And they can sign up where?
So we are taking enrollments beginning April, I almost said May, April 7th. Enrollment will be open. Enrollment is open the rest of the month of April, starting on the 7th. We're closing enrollment on May 1st. That's a Wednesday, because the rest of that week, we're going to do the onboarding, the kickoff call, and then May 6th through June 29th is the 8 weeks.
And how do they find that on your Instagram?
Yep, at FitLV Fitness and Nutrition. It'll also be fitlvfitness.com.
Okay.
And you guys can DM me, go to the website. It's going to be awesome.
Sounds good. Sounds like a good get ready for summer plan.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
get ready for life plan.
Yeah. And then, yeah, of course, like you finish the challenge, and then the hope is that you stick with us and roll that into, you know, you pick up the speed, the momentum over the 8 weeks, and then you're like, all right, I get it. I'm with the shit. Let's do it.
Right, right. That's awesome. Anything else going on in your world?
Well,
Like
I'm
big.
I'm hoping to be competing in some IBJJF tournaments this year, which is the Jiu-Jitsu Federation. I did one last year, and I've just been battling a lot of injuries, so I'm hoping to do a couple this year. You know, us being in Vegas, we have all the big tournaments.
Right.
So I'm hoping to be a badass jiu-jitsu mom competitor this year.
Wow.
Sans injuries.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And you're going to be on our 24-hour show.
Yes.
Next week. Yeah,
I'll
next week.
be back in a week.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad I finally got to meet you and pick your brain a little bit. I think a lot of the things that you say and definitely your content is very helpful and very like in your face, and I love that. I love that. Yeah, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Fit Fam. This was a good one. You know you want to share this with probably 10 people, so do it. And until next time, Fit Fam, I'm out.